Hi, my name is Savannah Urian, and what's your name?
I'm Marisol.
Alright, so we are here to talk about your student,
Izzy.
Alright, we have already gone ahead and recorded her diagnostic information. We went over her interview. Those things, we've also went through the IEP that's in place with her at the school, and you are her preschool teacher, correct?
Yes.
Alright, the only DEI consideration that's in place for Izzy and her family, she does have parents that are separated. She lives in the home with her biological father and her stepmother and visits her mother on some weekends. Alright, so we'll go ahead and get started with our interview. Can you just go ahead and spell your last name for me real quick?
Yeah, Villegas.
There we go. And Izzy, what's Izzy's last name?
Smith.
Alright, and we have down you are the preschool teacher. How old is Izzy?
She just turned 4.
Just turned 4. Alright. Alright. What kind of language abilities does Izzy possess? Does she talk in full sentences and utterances? Does she mostly communicate with gestures or hand leading?
She talks in full sentences, but she does have some speech problems. It's kind of hard to understand her outside of her, normal caregivers, if that makes sense. So, her teachers can understand her parents can understand her, but if she, probably came up to you, it would take you a minute to understand kind of what she was saying.
Alright. And she's in preschool enrolled with you right now. Is
Yes.
that a public preschool?
Yes.
What are Izzy's play skills like?
She is really good at imaginative play. She prefers sensory-based play, though, I guess. Like playing with water, sand, rice buckets. That's usually what she spends most of her time doing.
Okay, so we really like those sensory items. Is there anything else that she really prefers to do? Any activities or any items?
She always loves to participate in arts and crafts and stuff. She also loves to be outside.
Awesome. Is Izzy on any medication currently?
I know that she just had a doctor's appointment to get put on, I think stepmom said it was an anti-psych medication. I'm not sure of the name, but I can find that out.
We can definitely follow up on that
Yes.
with mom and her portion of the interview. Alright, so now I want to go ahead and talk about some of Izzy's behaviors. Does she display any aggression?
Yes.
And what does that usually look like?
She aggresses on both peers and adults. I know mom has mentioned to me that she does aggress in the home on siblings and on parents. In the classroom, it's usually provoked, sometimes unprovoked on her rougher days, but not often. She usually has a reason, whether that reason is what we would consider valid or not. Just kind of depends, but she'll kick, hit. She's never tried to bite us. But yeah, just the typical hitting, kicking, pushing, things like that.
Does she display any self-injurious behavior?
She does headbang when she's very upset. And that can be, if she's on the floor, she'll do it. If she's up against a wall, she'll do it on the wall.
Alright. And does she display any disruptive behaviors? Things like maybe running around the classroom, things like destroying objects, property destruction, things like that?
Yes.
All of the above?
All of the above.
Alright. Does she tend to run away from her caregivers as well?
Yeah, it kind of depends. A lot of her behaviors we've talked about are kind of attention seeking, so she usually is kind of craving that but sometimes she will try to run or get away from you if she knows you're coming to stop her.
Yeah. And how is she usually with demands? Kind of things, if you tell her to do things, is she usually compliant? Does she display a lot of non-compliance?
It really just depends on how she's feeling. If she is her happy bubbly self, she'll do anything you ask her to. She's very helpful. If she is in a behavior, she's upset, she is completely non-compliant.
And are there any other behaviors of concern that you have for Izzy?
I don't think so.
All right. What would you say is the most single concerning behavior that she displays?
The aggression is definitely top, but also head banging.
Mm-hmm. So we'd say aggression, probably followed by the head banging. What would you say the next two most kind of concerning are after that?
She has a lot of trouble focusing, and with boredom. So she will like engage in sensory play and she'll be there, but the second she kind of like snaps out of that focus, she's unable to like regulate and find something else to do. You have to help her a lot there. And then can peer interaction in general kind of be one. She really struggles with like taking toys from other kids, trying to like get reactions from them.
All right. And now we kind of just want to talk about kind of the magnitude of some of those problem behaviors. So when we do this functional assessment, we kind of want to watch out for some of these behaviors. If her aggression is going to get a level where it's dangerous to other people, we don't want that to go on during our assessment, of course.
Okay.
So how likely would you say she is to hurt someone during her aggressive episodes? Do they usually leave marks?
Yes.
Red marks, bruises, break skin?
I would say mostly red marks. Again, most of her aggression towards peers is kind of attention seeking, so she'll like swat at a peer and then kind of like look to her caregiver, at least in our experience at the school. Yeah. But yeah, usually red marks. I've never had her break skin on a kid.
Would you say the head banging is with forceful intent?
Yes. She's pretty easy to stop doing that though. Once you block her and you're like, hey, that's gonna hurt you, you can see that she's kind of like, oh, okay, well, I'll do something else.
All right. And what would you say about the disruptive behaviors in general? Is it really, she's kind of just disrupting, maybe knocking a book off the table? Is she running around the whole classroom, knocking over bookshelves?
Yeah, so she'll run around the whole classroom. If there's cots out for nap time, she'll flip cots physically. Throwing down chairs, throwing plates of food at lunchtime, climbing on top of furniture is a big thing we see because she knows we have to get her down to like keep her safe.
Alright. I'll add in climbing on that list for sure. Alright, would you say these behaviors kind of tend to happen in bursts? Like if she's having one behavior, she's much more likely to have those other behaviors?
Yeah, I would do. As soon as she's like kind of escalated and upset, that's when she'll just kind of keep going and adding on.
Do you ever see any behaviors that happen kind of as maybe a precursor to those behaviors? So maybe if she's going to escalate into hitting or kicking or running around the room, do you ever see anything like maybe whining at first or crying or kind of maybe a lesser concerning behavior that might kind of hint to you that it may escalate?
She definitely whines. She'll kind of start to tantrum, and you can kind of like tell she needs that regulation, but she'll almost always kind of go into a behavior after that. And if she's climbing on stuff, that can she could be completely happy, and then I'll look at the next second and she's on top of my like play kitchen, and I'm like, okay, she's about to start aggressing or.
Gotcha. What kind of conditions or situations are the problem behaviors most likely to occur? When do you usually see these?
When I start paying attention to other kids. So if I'm talking to her one-on-one, she's great, she's happy, she's smiling with me. The second that I look away from her and another kid needs my assistance, she'll kind of start, or when she gets bored. What are kind of times that she seems to be bored? Is it when she's kind of enjoyed an activity for too long? Is it when peers aren't interacting with her? Is it when she's getting just low attention in general? I would say the low attention for sure, but also, yeah, she'll engage with activities for, 10, 15 minutes, and then when she's done, she struggles to find the next thing to do. You kind of always have to show her options, even though the room is full of activities.
So it sounds like maybe she has kind of some trouble during those transitional times from activity to activity. If she is guided during those transitional periods, do you see kind of those behaviors less likely to happen during that time?
Yes and no. If it's a really preferred activity, like she really is into something and you have to make her stop, she'll get upset regardless. But for the most part, if you kind of like, we always redirect her and try to like make it fun. Like, come on, Izzy, like we're gonna, go do this. Let's dance here. She'll kind of respond to that better.
Gotcha. Do these problem behaviors happen frequently during any like certain activity or any time of the day?
Not really. It's very random.
And what are some things that seem to trigger the problem behavior? I know you said kind of boredom, low attention.
Yeah. I know when she has rougher days at home, like if stepmom is the one that primarily deals with her like behaviors and bringing her to school and picking her up, whenever she tells us that she's had a rough morning, it kind of always like checks out throughout the day.
All right. Does mom kind of ever, or stepmom ever kind of elaborate on what that kind of looks like for them in a rough morning?
More like just tantrum behavior. I've had her say like, oh, she wanted a different pair of shoes and I told her she had to wear these ones, so she had a complete meltdown in the garage, or she's told me like she doesn't sleep well, and that could be kind of rough, or if she doesn't get like McDonald's in the morning is a big one for her for some reason. She's very particular about that. So.
Do these problem behaviors ever occur when you kind of break Izzy's routines or interrupt her activities?
Yeah, only the preferred ones. And it also kind of depends on how she's feeling.
Do you see these problems behaviors ever kind of appear when she doesn't get her way?
Oh, yeah.
What are some things that she really kind of attempts to control? I know you said breakfast items. Is it food items in general, would you say?
No, I would say like breakfast for some reason is the main thing. She really tries to control what house she's going to, but that could be more of just like, I see that in a lot of my kids where she's like, I want mom, I want to go to mom's house. Clothing, she's really particular about like if she wants to change her shirt, if like it gets wet or whatever, and then like shoes and stuff like that.
And how do you or others kind of react to this problem behavior when it happens?
So at the center I work at, we use a lot of conscious discipline skills. I don't know if you've heard of that, but just kind of validating her emotions. I like block aggressions. I tell her that like that hurts people or that hurts others. I explain to her why we don't do that. But overall we try to maintain like a really calm, validating like presence of, I see that you're upset, but here's what we're gonna do instead, if that makes sense.
Would you say parents follow kind of the same principles at home when interacting with her?
No.
They're
much less patient from what I can tell. They seem to get a lot more frustrated with her, kind of yelling at her, and they use a lot of edible like motivation. They're like, if you have a good day, we're gonna eat 2 Oreos after school, or you're gonna get McDonald's. That's like their main source of behavior management that I've seen.
What kind of seems to calm Izzy down when she's engaging in these behaviors?
Sometimes I can hug her and hold her. Other times I just kind of have to let her scream it out, essentially, before she'll kind of calm down herself.
Are there any ways that you can kind of distract her when she engages in these problem behaviors? Anything that she'll kind of redirect to really easily?
Sometimes if you start going like crazy or dancing or like just kind of try to, I don't know how else to explain it, but yeah, just distracting her, trying to redirect, yeah.
All right, and what would you say, if anything, if she's trying to communicate with you during this problem behavior?
Wait, sorry, what was the question again?
Oh, no, you're totally fine. Like, what do you think she might be trying to communicate?
Oh, okay. Definitely the attention thing. That's what a lot of me and my teachers talk about, is it seems to be she just wants that so badly from us.
And would you say that's mainly the attention of the caregivers?
Yeah.
All right, we just have 2 more questions
No
here
worries.
for you, Marisol. Do you think these problem behaviors are ever kind of a form of self-stimulation for her?
Not really. Maybe the headbanging, but
Alright. Do you only see the headbanging usually when she is escalated?
oh yeah. And it's not super common, but when she's very, very upset, especially after she aggresses on you, I notice she'll aggress on you, you'll tell her like that hurt me, and that's when she'll start to headbang to try to like maybe stop herself. I don't know how else to.
Alright. And then one last question here. What would you say, why do you think she's engaging in these behaviors in general?
Again, the attention, I think home environment is definitely a factor you might want to look at when you talk to the parents, kind of see, in our opinion, it feels like a hostile environment. So.
All right, well, those are the only questions I had for you. Do you have any questions or anything that I can answer for you, Marisol?
I don't think so.
All right, well, thank you so much for helping me with this interview today.
Of course.